Hello, friends and dear viewers. I welcome you all for this current episode wherein we are going to discuss about the arid or desert landforms. And friends, before going into the topic, let us know what desert means. Of course, the types of deserts also, so that we have a few fundamentals to understand the current topic. Right. About a fifth of the world's land, about a fifth of the world's land is made up of deserts. Some may be rocky or some may be stony, and the rest of them are sandy in nature. Sandy in nature. Deserts that are absolutely barren and where nothing grows at all are rare, and they are better known as the true deserts. Friends, if you look at the world map carefully, then you will find that there is a certain definite pattern to the location of the world's deserts. What I mean to say is, deserts generally they are not just like that formed. There is a particular pattern. There is a particular pattern that guides in the formation of deserts. And in that relation or in that connection, we find almost all the deserts in the world existing in between 15 degrees to 30 degrees latitudes. That is either towards the north or south from the equator. So it is very much clear, friends, that almost all the deserts in the world, they are existing in between the latitudes, parallels of latitudes, that is from 15 degrees to 30 degrees. That is both in northern hemisphere as well as in southern hemisphere, spreading from the equator. Right. And if you observe the map, friends, then you will realize that all the deserts are confined within 15 to 30 degrees parallels of latitudes north and south of the equator. And they lie in the trade wind belt. A new technical term, friends, I think I need to make clear for you what trade wind belt means. Friends, trade winds or the winds, basically they are the one of the types of the planetary winds. Uh, those winds, they used to flow from the tropics to the and towards the equator, from tropics to equator, both from the from north as well as the southern hemisphere. If you imagine, they used to flow from the northeast side in the northern hemisphere. Their origin is from the northeast side, and they flow towards the equator. And similarly, if you consider the southern hemisphere, and the flow of the trade winds is from the southeast direction towards the equator. So they are called the trade winds. Generally, these trade winds, what they used to tell us is that majority of the shipping activities or majority of the transport through waters, they take place in these latitudes only, because these winds, they are very much helpful for the ships. They are very much helpful for the ships to move. Right. And again, friends, dryness or aridity is the keynote here. Okay. And deserts are tropical hot deserts or trade wind deserts. They include the Great Sahara Desert, Arabian, the Iranian, and the Thar deserts. Of course, the Kalahari, the Namibian, and Atacama deserts. These are all comes under the tropical hot deserts. And the Great Australian Desert and the deserts of the southwest of United States of America and northern Mexico also, friends. And next, in the continental interiors of the mid latitudes, And we find deserts, the most important ones like the Gobi Desert in China and the Turkestan Desert, of course. They are characterized by extremities of temperatures, dear friends. And we have five distinct kinds of desert landscapes, my dear friends. I don't think I go into detail about all these things individually. I just try to give a one-line narration, dear friends, right? And in this process, first of all, let us deal with the first kind of the desert landscape, that is the Hamada or rocky desert. Hamada or the rocky desert. And friends, this consists of large stretches of bare rocks. They consist of large stretches of bare rocks that are swept clear of sand and dust by the wind. The best known rocky deserts are those of the Sahara Desert. Example, the Hamra El Homra in Libya. Hamra El Homra in Libya. And of course, that covers an area of almost 20,000 square miles, dear friends. And next type of landform, that is the reg or the stony desert. This is composed of extensive sheets of angular pebbles and gravels, which the winds are not able to blow off. And such stony deserts are much more accessible than the sandy deserts, right? And large herds of camels are also kept there. And of course, in Libya and Egypt, the term serir is used. Serir is um, used to describe the rig or the stony deserts. And elsewhere in Africa, these stony deserts are called as rigs. The third type of landform, that is the ergs or sandy deserts. Erg is a sea of sand which uh, which typifies the popular idea of a desert scenery. And of course, winds deposit vast stretches of undulating sand dunes, and the intricate patterns of the ripples on the dune surfaces, they indicate the direction of the winds. They indicate the direction of the winds. That means where from the winds are coming or the origin of the winds. The Kelan Sand Sea. The Kelan Sand Sea in Libya is characteristic of a sandy desert. So, Kelan Sand Sea in Libya will be the classical example for a sandy desert. Of course, in Turkestan, the sand deserts are also known as Kaums. The next step, the Badlands. Friends, the term Badlands was first given to an arid area in South Dakota of United States of America, where the hills are they were badly eroded by occasional rainstorms into gullies and ravines. Gullies and ravines. The extent of water action on hill slopes and rock surfaces was so great that the entire region was abandoned by the inhabitants. And deserts with similar features are now referred to as the Badlands. And the best examples for these Badlands are the Painted Desert of Arizona. The Painted Desert of Arizona, which lies southeast of Grand Canyon of the Colorado River. The last type of landform, dear friends, that is the mountain deserts. Of course, some deserts they are found on highlands such as plateaus and mountain ranges. Erosion has dissected the desert highlands into harsh, serrated outlines of chaotic peaks and craggy ranges. Their steep slopes are cut by wadis, and the action of frost has carved out sharp, irregular edges. And of course, in the Sahara Desert, the Ahaggar Mountains and the Tibesti Mountains are good examples of desert mountains. So, with these friends, I think it is enough for us. Now, to deal with the mechanism of the arid erosion, the mechanism of arid erosion, we need to go in detail, right? Friends, wind is an important geomorphic agent. That is the Aeolian processes. Aeolian processes involving erosion of dry, loose, and unprotected geomaterials, transportation and deposition of fine sediments, mainly sands, are most active in arid and semi arid regions of tropical and temperate environments. Yeah, of course, friends, wind erosion occurs in three ways. It occurs in three ways. The first one is the deflation. The first one is the deflation. Deflation generally it is the process of removing or lifting and blowing away dry and loose particles of sands and dusts by the winds. That is about deflation. The second one is abrasion. The second one is abrasion. Here, the sand blasting of rock surfaces by winds when they hurt sand particles against them. Abrasion is the process where the sand blasting of rock surfaces by winds when they hurt sand particles against them. The other one is attrition. Attrition is the process where the particles, while they are moving, collide against each other and convert it into finer particles. And that is what about attrition, dear friends. And now, let us move on to the various landforms of wind erosion in deserts. That is due to wind erosion or aeolian processes, what types of landforms are formed. That is what we are going to deal with now. In the combined process of abrasion, deflation, and attrition, a wealth of characteristic desert landforms emerge. And in this process, we find the following types. Of them, the first one is the rock pedestals or mushroom rocks. The first type is the first type of landform due to wind erosion is rock pedestals or mushroom rocks. Right. Let us see what it means. The sandblasting effect of winds against any projecting rock masses wears back the softer layers so that an irregular edge is formed on the alternate bands of hard and soft rocks. Grooves and hollows are cut in the rock surfaces, carving them into fantastic and grotesque looking pillars called rock pedestals. This process of undercutting produces rocks of mushroom shape, generally called mushroom rocks or gaur in Sahara. They are called as mushroom rocks or Gaur, Gaur in the Sahara Desert. You can get a beautiful illustration, dear friends, regarding this rock pedestals are Gaur. I am going to give a beautiful illustration here so that you can understand this kind of landform. The next one is the Jugen. The next one is the Jugen. Of course, these are the tabular masses which have a layer of soft rocks lying beneath a surface layer of more resistant rocks. The sculpting effects of a wind abrasion wear them into a weird looking ridge and furrow landscape. Ridge and furrow landscape. Mechanical weathering initiates their formation by opening up joints of the surface rocks. And it is the wind abrasion further eats into the underlying softer layers so that deep furrows are formed. The hard rocks then stand above the furrows as ridges or they are generally called jugen. Jugen, right. Jugen, right. And the next thing to deal with is, friends, it is the yardangs. It is the yardangs. Yardangs. Quite similar to the ridge and furrow landscape of Jugen or the steep sided yardangs. Right? Similar to the ridge and furrow landscape of Jugen. These are steep sided yardangs. Instead of lying in horizontal strata upon one another, the hard and soft rocks of yardangs are vertical bands and are aligned in the direction of the prevailing winds. Wind abrasion excavates the bands of soft rocks into long, narrow corridors. Into long, narrow corridors. And of course, friends, they are commonly found in the Atacama Desert, Chile. But the more spectacular ones with the yardangs rising to 25 to 50 feet are best developed in the interior deserts of Central Asia, where the name originated, of course. Means yardangs, that is the name, it has its origins from Central Asia. So yardangs are well seen or very much familiar in Central Asia, dear friends. The next one, the mesas and buttis. The mesas and the buttis, right. Friends, mesa is a Spanish word that means a table like structure. Generally, it can be called as mesa in Spanish language. It is a flat table like landmass with a very resistant horizontal top layer and very steep sides, having very steep sides, right. And now, mesas. Mesas may be formed in canyon regions, example Arizona, or on fault blocks, example the Table Mountains of Cape Town, South Africa. Continued denudation through the ages may reduce mesas in area so that they become isolated flat topped hills called buttis. Due to continued denudation through the ages, these mesas are reduced in area so that they become isolated flat topped hills which are called as buttis. Many of them in arid countries are separated by deep gorges or canyons. I am presenting a beautiful diagrammatic representation, friends. You can see the mesas and buttis with the canyons and cliffs, etc. Right, and now I move on to the other most important one that is the Inselberg. This is a German word meaning island mountain. It's a general German word, and generally it is meaning a island mountain. Island mountain. They are isolated residual hills rising abruptly from the level ground or ground level from the ground level. They are characterized by their very steep slopes and rather rounded tops. They are often composed of granite or gneiss, which is the volcanic material, friends. Gneiss means one of the, it's nothing but volcanic material, right? And for Hinselbergs, they are typical of many desert and semi-arid landscapes in old age. Example those of northern Nigeria, the western Australia, and the Kalahari Desert. Right, friends. Let us move on to the other type of landforms. That is the ventifacts or decanter. The ventifacts or decanter. Right. These are the pebbles faceted by sand blasting. You can imagine, friends, a bare rock standing in the desert, and due to heavy winds, the sand used to blow in that direction. And when these rocks they are in opposite direction, and these sand, pebbles, they used to blast the surface of the rock. So these are the ventifacts or decanter. These are the pebbles faceted by sand blastings. They are shaped and thoroughly polished by wind abrasion to shapes resembling the Brazil nuts. The Brazil nuts. Rock fragments mechanically weathered from mountains and upstanding rocks are moved by wind and smoothened on the windward side. Right? I think you got my point. Right? Friends, among the event facts, those with three wind-faceted surfaces are called decanter. The event facts with the three wind-faceted surfaces are called decanter. Decanter. These wind-faceted pebbles form the desert pavement, a smooth mosaic-like region closely covered by the numerous rock fragments and pebbles. Right. The other one, friends, they are the deflation hollows. The deflation hollows, and I think not much more to deal with. Right. Now let us move on to the landforms of wind deposition in deserts. Dear friends, let us move on to landforms of wind deposition in deserts. Ah, the dust from the Sahara Desert, say for example, is sometimes blown across the Mediterranean to fall as the blood rains in Italy or on the glaciers of Switzerland. The dust that settles in the Huanghe Basin from the Gobi Desert has accumulated over past centuries to a depth of several hundred feet. Right? They remain as dunes. They remain as dunes or other depositional landforms within the deserts themselves. Since they are rarely static and their migration pattern depends on a number of factors, the size of the particles they carry, the direction and velocity of the winds, and of course the location and nature of the surface over which the particles are transported, and the presence or absence of water and natural vegetation also. Friends, the following are some of the major features of the wind deposition. Of course, just now we dealt with. The first one is the dunes. To deal with the dunes are in fact hills of sand formed by the accumulation of sand and shaped by the movement of winds. Right. Now, friends, Dealing with dunes, you find many types, my dear friends. But however, for the following, however, the following two types of common dunes we can find everywhere. They are the barkans and sieves. The barkans and sieves. First, let us see what barkan means. These are crescentic or moon-shaped dunes, dunes, which occur individually or in groups. They are live dunes which advance steadily before winds that come from a particular prevailing direction. They are most prevalent in the deserts of Turkestan and in the Sahara. Barkans are initiated probably by a chance accumulation of sand at the obstacle, such as a patch of grass or a heap of rocks. They occur generally transversely to the wind so that their horns thin out and become lower in the direction of the wind due to the reduced frictional retardation of the winds around the edges. So it looks like the crescent shape. You can imagine the crescent shape. Right. Now let us move on to the sieves, sieve or longitudinal dune. Sieve is an Arabic word meaning sword. The long, narrow ridges of sand. They are long, narrow ridges of sand, often over 100 miles long, lying parallel to the direction of the prevailing winds. And you can see generally, friends, extensive sieve dunes are found in the Sahara Desert, south of the Qattara Depression, the Thar Desert, and the West Australian Desert. The next type of depositional landform is the Louis. The fine dust blown beyond the desert limits is deposited on neighboring lands as Louis. It is a yellow, friable material and is usually very fertile and is in fact loamy, rich in lime, very coherent and extremely porous. Streams have cut deep valleys through the thick mantle of soft loess, and badland topography may also develop, my dear friends. There are very great chances for formation of badland topography in these loess areas. The most extensive deposit of loess is found in the northwest China, in the Loess Plateau of the Huanghe Basin, and it covers an area of nearly 250,000 square miles. 250,000 square miles, and the deposits have accumulated to a depth of nearly 200 to 500 feet, dear friends. It's a very astonishing fact, right? And in China, such yellowish wind-borne dust from the Gobi Desert is called Huangtu. Huangtu, the yellow earth. It means the yellow earth. Right. France and Belgium, and these dunes, dear friends. These Louis plains, what we are talking with. These they are generally called with various names, dear friends. So nothing to get worried, right? From particularly with regard to the similar deposits when they occur in Germany, France, and Belgium. They are locally called the limon. They are also windborne, but were blown from material deposited at the edge of ice sheets during the ice ages. And of course, in parts of Midwest United States of America, Lewis was derived from the ice sheets which covered northern North America and is termed as adobe. As adobe. Landforms due to water action in deserts, dear friends. We just throw some light on it. Uh, and few deserts in the world are entirely without rain or water. Of course, the annual precipitation may be small, maybe to 5 to 10 inches, and come in the form of irregular showers. But thunderstorms do occur and the rainfalls is torrential and in downpours producing a devastating effects. Okay, as we all know that deserts have a little vegetation and to protect the surface soil, large quantities of rock waste are transported in sudden ranging torrents or flash floods, etc. Then we find some deep cuts that are nothing but the gullies and the ravines they used to form, and they're forming a badland topography. Okay, and subsequent to all these things, downpours and there is so much of material in the flash floods, and that the flow becomes liquid mud. Okay, and here when the masses of debris are deposited at the foot of the hill or the mouth of the valley, an alluvial cone or fan, alluvial cone or fan, or a dry delta is formed, right? And now we find a part of these gullies and larger channels or valleys. These are deepened by vertical corrosion by raising torrents during the occasional cloud bursts. These are the wadis, and are dry for most of the time, right? The water carves out steep walls which rise abruptly from the stream bed. In Algeria, such gorges are termed as chebka. They're called as chebka. So, friends, I give us a few of the diagrams so that you can understand them easily. And to sum up, we have, generally there are a few lakes which contain a high percentage of salts because of high evaporation and are glistening with white color when they dry up. And these lakes and the alluvial plains so formed by them are called as playas or salinas or salars in the United States and Mexico. Of course, they are called as shorts in northern Africa. They are called as shorts in northern Africa. And the floor of the depression is made up of two features, the bajada and the pediment. The bajada and the pediment. Of course, the bajada is a depositional feature made up of alluvial material laid down by the intermittent streams, whereas the pediment is an erosional plain formed at the base of the surrounding mountains. Very clear-cut difference, dear friends. Bajada is the depositional feature, whereas pediment is the erosional feature, right? So nothing to discuss more, dear friends. It's time for us to conclude our episode. Hope you enjoyed, and I personally feel that I have given a deep insights to this particular topic of landforms of desert areas. Hope, friends, let us meet in our next episode with um, with some different topic. Thank you, one and all.